I'm retired. There's a mole right at the top of the circus.
Well, we've had the book and a TV series, but finally, this is the UK premiere of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
He's been there for years.
I need you to do something.
You have to assume they're watching.
Tell me how familiar you were with the book before you started the whole project.
I'd read it, and Bridget had read it sort of several years earlier. And you know, it's a great novel, one of the great British novels of the 20th century. And then we read it again when we knew we were going to be offered the job, and thought, oh my God, how are we going to get that down to 2 hours?
Well, of course, on day one, how do you start that whole process? It must be a huge daunting task for you, is it?
Yeah, it was. And I mean, it was all about structure. It was about just trying to get as much of the story as we could work, but without losing that kind of autumnal, languid air that the novel has. You know, without losing that pace. So we just kept reworking and reworking.
And how long were you then at your desk reworking it?
Actually, it happened sort of quite quickly. I mean, sort of within about the first draft, we knew it could be done. It was then just about getting as good as we possibly could. So the whole process took about 2 years, including the shoot, which is reasonably quick for a film.
And what sort of pressure do you put on yourself whenever you know a book has been so popular before?
Well, I'll tell you what really helped. Thomas lied and said we knew exactly how to do it, which he didn't. That was a big fat lie. And also, the other big help was that John the Carrier was lovely and supportive and gave us lots of help all the way through the process.
And just generally in your work, how do you bring a book like that that's so complex to life? How do you go about it?
You find the thing that that you've responded to, which for Bridget and I was the human story underneath this, the human cost of that war and the victims of that war, and you hold to that.
If you're caught,
What the hell are you doing up here?
you can't mention me.
Whenever you're trying to bring to life a book that's so iconic, how do you first go about that?
Well, you have to put that aside after a while, that it's very popular or highly regarded. You just have to stay very true to your own interpretation of it.
Okay, and how do you go about that? Is there bits of the book that you need to sort of cut out and lose that are hard at times?
It's very hard to describe that. It's very an emotional thing.
And a truly British cast, what's it been like working with the likes of John Hurt and Gary Oldman?
Fantastic. They're amazing actors and very generous and open-minded persons.
And did it make making this movie different for you, easier, harder?
Well, it's been harder because I'm Swedish and English is not my first language, and this is quite challenging in a lingual way. So that has been the hardest thing, I think, for me.
He's a fanatic, and the fanatic is always concealing a secret.
Being part of some of the greatest comedy roles and some of the greatest comedies on our TV, what attracted you to this role so very different?
Well, that's what's attracted me to the role, because although I love making people laugh, it's also nice doing. I like to do as many varied roles as I possibly can. So that was nice. That was one thing, but partly it was a very good script, a very good story, famous story, with a terrific cast and a wonderful director. What's not to like?
I could ask you about all of those. Were you familiar with the book, first of all, before?
Yeah, of course so. Yes, and a long time ago I reread it, and I was familiar with the book. I was very familiar with the TV series when it first came out. It was one of those things like, I don't know, Downton Abbey is now. Everybody watched it. It was a wonderful thing. I shouldn't compare it to Downton Abbey, actually. I know it's very successful done. But I mean, in terms of success. But what could I compare it to? The Wire or something like that. It had a cachet about it that was very impressive.
And your character then, tell me a bit about that.
Mendel, I play Mendel, who's a retired police officer who Smiley enlists to come back into the force and help him find out the mole.
What do you think it is that interests us all still so much about spy movies?
Spies, what is it? It's like westerns, isn't it? Where there's something about, I can't think of the word I would say, but we like, it's the betrayal, it's the notions of betrayal and bluff and secrecy that we like, and they're bloody good stories too.
The timelessness of them.
And the timelessness of them, yes, yeah.
Also, just take this...
Archetypal, that's the word. There's something like a Western, there's a certain sort of archetypal thing about that framework of that story, and the individual person against the rest of the world. But there's also a very double-edged morality about it, betraying your country, double spies, who you're betraying, you know. People die from decisions you make. It's a very questionable career.
Hello, Ricky.
I needed to see you.
Why?
There's a woman.
I know who you are.
Very big British actors, Gary Oldman and Colin Firth. What was it like working with them?
Wow, it was spectacular. I mean, it was very humbling. It was very, you know, you have to pinch yourself in the arm a couple of times to realize that what you were going to. But they were all very, very nice to me. And once we started working with the scene, I mean, it's a universal language. You have to work with the scene. You work with the scene. You talk and how to solve it, whether it's kids' theatre or whether it's Colin Firth and Gary Oldman.
And give us a sense how Gary Oldman then lived up to that iconic role as Smiley.
I haven't seen the film, but I've worked with him, and I stepped into his car at the first day of my shoot, and he said, "Well, let's just run through the lines." It's this scene we did with the airplane landing, and he starts talking, and it was, I kind of lost my speech there. How do you say that in English? I couldn't remember my own lines because I was just so struck by his acting in the backseat of a car rehearsing. So that was a big experience for me.
And how do you prepare for a role like the one that you had in the movie?
Well, you speak, you read, you talk to the director. You do what you have to do, and there was as you might notice, there's a lot of. He's very into the clothing detail, so that we had a lot of costume fittings and so forth. But that was, of course, not preparation that was deep in the sense. It was just time demanding. But reading the book, reading the script again and again. When you read the script, you get a clear sense of his function in the film. So you kind of have to hit that function instead of start limping or having weird stuff to do as a character.
She had information concerning a double agent. What she told me was sensational.
You must have worked quite closely with Gary. What was that like?
Fantastic. I never met him before, but we have strangely our paths have sort of crossed. He went straight into film. I remain mainly in theatre, but I've also done a lot of film, and we have a lot of mutual friends in common. So it was a wonderful. He's a wonderfully generous and as well as being a brilliant actor.
And a huge British cast in this movie. What was that like, being part of such a big and wonderful British cast?
Well, it just felt like coming home, really. It felt very normal and easy. You know, they're all people that I know. Toby Jones is one of my best friends. Kieran Hines is one of my best friends. So it's just like being in the family, really.
So what was it like then, being on set every day with these guys? Who are your friends?
Yeah, terrific. Just a gas, you know. The moment a shot finished, it was a riot, you know. It was hard to kind of start to concentrate again, you know, but it was brilliant, yeah.
And do you think that their friendship before you go on set with someone brings something different to a movie?
Yeah, because it means that you've got a shorthand and you can get straight into the acting. You don't need to find out who they are. You can get straight into what you're doing. You can also say, look, somebody, you know, as Kieran said, by the way, when you did that, you've got something on your lip. You know, he's not afraid to say that to me. I go, oh, thank God, you know, someone's told me that, so I do that, you know.
And just the genre, very quickly, why do you think it's so intriguing still, the whole spy thriller, espionage, this
because
kind of...
nothing any human being says to another human being can be called the truth. And therefore, we're always fascinated by people lying, and that's what a spy has to do, supposedly to find out the truth, but as you can see from this film, there is no truth.
Tell me.
He killed our man in Istanbul.
It's just become so ugly.
I'm just interested in how you first went about researching this role.
Oh, that wonderful old word. I don't do research. No, I look at the script and use my imagination.
And how do you get then into the character?
You're asking me how to act.
No worries.
I've always said that journalists have 6 questions, and all of which are how do you act, which is the one question that I can't answer. But I do my best. I'd read the script, which it was a fantastic script, and I thought the Control was a very, very interesting. Well, obviously, he's the head of MI6. Of course, it is. Even though he doesn't last very long, he's very influential in the way in which the whole plot of the film. And I just thought it was beautifully written, wonderful director, terrific actors.
You thought you were in good company, you had to get involved.
Yes, I mean, what more could you ask, you know? Got jam on it, everything.
And just as a genre then, spy thrillers, why do you think we're also still very much interested in them?
Well, I think they provide a wonderful emotional arena, and a very varied arena, and a very bright arena too, because they're smart, they're quick, you know, and it's always, I think, great fun to watch people on screen that are quick thinking, fast, and so on. It makes you feel as fast as them, which is a nice feeling, you know.
Yes, indeed.
And also, big emotions. Of course they are, you know. We're dealing with betrayal here. We're dealing with all that side of things. We're dealing with very strong friendships as well. And we're dealing with a certain amount of philosophy and so on. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. It's intriguing.
We've been the only thing standing between Moscow and the Third World War.
Now's the time.
You know, it's amazing that, like I've said before, these kind of things are the stuff that you dream of. You never, when I used to go to the Everyman Youth Theatre, you never think that you're going to be sitting opposite a table one day with Gary Oldman playing a character. And there's times when you'd have to pinch yourself sometimes.
And how did that influence you, knowing the other talent that was going to be in this movie when you were showing the script?
It's just, you know, you raise your game, and just to be in that calibre of people, and you know, I admired every actor's work that's in the movie, so it was just a joy to do.
And just briefly, your character.
He's a nice man. He's a decent man. He tries to do the right thing, and unfortunately, that's when the deck of cards fall, when the house of cards falls, as I'd say.
Are you the only nice character in the movie then?
No, everyone's got nice traits. Most of them have, but you know, he's a decent guy. It's nice to play a decent guy for once.
It is one of 5 men.
As a character, I'm just interested in George Smiley and how that character has moved you as a person. Playing him.
Well, you know, it's funny with these characters. This world was very, you know, you are sort of professionally anonymous, and even with your peers and with your family, it's quite a lonely, quite a lonely existence. But I liked playing George. I sort of missed him when I.
Is it moving towards a sort of different type of character that you may play now in the future? Is this a move away from what you've played in the past?
I'm just getting older. I can't jump around like I used to. I let Tom Hardy do that. Tom Hardy's doing that now. He's younger than me.
All I want from you is one code name. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Well, there you have it. We've spoke to some of the very biggest and best British talent tonight here at the UK premiere of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. For me, Thomas Magill, Premiere Scene.